Hello, everyone, and thank you for being again with the Recursive podcast. In today's series, we're in Bucharest, and I'm super excited about this location and everything that I've been experiencing so far. Our next guest, Ilinca Paun, is someone who knows the price of taking big risks to chase freedom and the excitement of the unknown. She was at the top of her corporate ladder as the manager of Colliers in Romania. She quit her job as an expert in real estate to become an explorer. Later on, she co-founded the Entrepreneurship Academy, and today she is the managing partner at Impact Hub Bucharest, mentoring and advising young people into their entrepreneurial journey and also investing in them. Very happy that you're here, Ilinca. Welcome to the Recursive podcast.
Thank you, Irina. I'm very happy to be here. Thank you for the invitation. I'm honored.
It's very interesting for me that when you started your career, it was so far away from entrepreneurship. You actually studied for a civil engineer back then, right?
Architecture.
Architecture.
Yes, I'm a proud architect by profession.
Mm-hmm. How did it then change to the business world and to Colliers and the corporate career?
By chance, actually. Probably a little bit by the design of the fact that I wanted to be a director since I was little. Probably it was something my family somehow instilled in me. But I was very, very much on the way to build my power. And actually, I wanted to be an actor when I was, I think, in high school. Then I wanted to be a movie director. So from this very artistic side of me, I also had a good background in math. I like science. And then a colleague of mine, my best friend back then said, I want to study architecture. And I said, okay, there is science, there is art, so I think I would be good at it and I would like it. But it was not something that I wanted to do for a long time. Then I went into the university. I studied a bit outside in Spain and England. Mm-hmm. And I was very attracted by the idea of making money, doing business, being in the front of the cameras, being on the planes, traveling. I also had in mind this idea of, making business presentations in front of big boards of people, and they would listen to me, to every word I was saying. I think I was too much in the search of fame and glory back then. So when I had this chance to become a part of a corporate, I immediately said yes, because I worked on a construction site for 2 years and it was dusty and it was cold and it was, I had to carry the papers of the chief architect. And
I'm not creative at all.
Where is my fame? Where is my glory? Where is my money? No. This is not for me. I gotta go, make myself a career in the corporate. It was 2000, and in Romania, clearly, the corporate world could offer training, education, money, a much higher salary compared to, let's say, my colleagues in the same generation and same background of education. But it was the golden ticket, and I took it.
And you actually made a very good career out of it, of this ticket.
So 18 years.
18 years.
18 long and hard years, I would say. And happy and intense, very intense.
In the end, I think you were representative for the country here in Romania for Colliers.
Yes, 8 years I served as a CEO for Romania.
What did you learn during these 18 years that maybe now helps you be a better advisor to young entrepreneurs and also being an entrepreneurial spirit yourself?
I learned most of the things I know I learned in the corporate years, from good stories and bad stories. I did a lot of mistakes as a manager. I think I was a good salesperson. I was a good, let's say, presenter. I was a person that could trigger some attention. I could structure my speech. I was well educated. I could dress well. So I made a good first impression. But when I came into the management role, it's not about first impression only. And it's, people around you can see who you are. they see through you as a manager, and you should have much more substance, much more competence when it comes to understanding people around you, being adaptable, flexible to what they want, to, how to take decisions that take in account their needs and their ideas. And I wasn't prepared for this. I was too much of a maybe it's harsh, but looking back now, I was too narcissistic and ego-driven because I wanted this fame and glory. And I knew I had some kind of intelligence to help me get there. But I was completely oblivious to how to communicate well with people as a manager, like really build a team. So I learned a lot from my mistakes and my failures. Because I wasn't a great manager at the beginning. Probably I never was a great manager, but I became a good enough manager later when I took the role. And it was funny. The more they promoted me in management roles, the more I thought, oh, okay, so I should be able to do this, but I'm not very good at it. So let me try hard. Let me learn more. So I was a learner every day. And I also discovered clearly that I need to learn a lot every day because I'm not necessarily a natural in this position. I also ask myself, why do I want it so much if I'm not a natural? Why am I in this position? Why am I a CEO of Colliers, Romania? And these questions probably also made me give up the role at one point because maybe the answer that came was, maybe somebody else is a better manager than you are. Listen to your heart. What do you want to do really in life? But on the practical side, I learned how to run meetings, how to take decisions. I was very brave. So I took decisions in risky situations. I'm great in crisis management. Great means that I don't panic and fall off my chair. I mean, great means, okay, I know how to calm people down and say, what do we need to do? Where is it burning? What's the fire? What can we do? And people really appreciated this in me. If it's something that I was good at this confidence, showing confidence. Inside, I was burning. I was super anxious and super afraid of everything around me. But this gave me this need and power to impose, to validate myself, to stay firm on my feet. And people who were around me, kind of, okay, if Ilinca, it's fine, everything will be fine. If she seems okay, she seems to have this in her hands, because we've been through 3 major crises in Colliers. When I took over, it was after the real estate crash in 2010.
Wow. Yeah.
Phones were not calling. People were fighting in the office. Everything was a disaster. On the financial side, we went from 27 million to 3 million in revenues. So, and that's when I was given this role.
What a chance.
And I was lucky to receive the role in those conditions. And it was tough years, but people that were really, how should I say, only people that built the culture with me together were the ones that stayed forward. So it was a moment of rebirth of Colliers, and I worked a lot at the culture.
Yeah, I think crisis quite often, both in a corporate environment and also in the personal life, is kind of a filter for who is really, sticking with you and, with your values, and who is not, who is there for the wrong reasons.
Being in real estate, which is a very transactional, money-oriented, rigid world, people don't have time to talk about values, to talk about a mission, to talk about what motivates them. Usually the answer was money. I'm here for the money. And this was bad, because when the crisis came, there were no money. So why stay? So I tried to build a bit on the legacy of my predecessor, because he started the movement into, okay, let's build a great culture that people would love to work at Colliers, no matter what is outside. And this was a tough mission. And I managed to have some results in the areas of education. People in Colliers were reading books. We were doing a lot of trainings, discussion, workshops. I was a learner and I transmitted this forward. I was reading a book per week. We were having reviews of books. We were having speakers. So really it was all about getting educated ourselves to have a good life for ourselves and transfer this to everybody around us, families, friends, and clients. And then the second crisis came in 2013, 14, because the economy was also struggling. The competition was very tough, and we entered in a red ocean with all the other competitors. I was not very good at it. I'm not good at fighting in the dirt of the competition.
Okay.
I think because I got tired of it when I was young. I was very competitive. I was in all the Olympics contests, and I just got tired of hating the person next to me instead of loving them and collaborating with them. So this feeling of competitiveness, I had it so strong that it exhausted me. And I said, no, I don't want to do it anymore. Also, this was part of the one reason for me leaving Colliers, because the market became too tough and rough for my need, my emotional and my human probably moment in my life.
I find this very interesting what you're saying. I've never been that competitive, so I'm wondering how does too much competition to a person like you might hurt you, like internally, to a point where you give up everything that you before that craved for. I mean, because you said that you wanted to be, the boss and have the fame and the money. You actually achieved all these things, and then after 18 years, that wasn't enough, and competition was harming you in a way internally.
Yes.
How does this feel?
It felt dehumanizing, because competition meant I'm looking at my shoulder, and whoever is there, I'm going to hate them so I can win against them. This makes me become very lonely.
Okay.
This makes the conversation be only about bragging about results, about who's better, who's the best, who won this client, who made more money, who's God in this market. And I really, 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 at one point, understand life is not about this. But I wanted it so much before. So for me, it was a major conflict.
Yeah.
It was like my whole childhood pushed me in a direction, and I went for it, and I had success. But inside, I was unhappy. I was feeling lonely. I was having a lot of problems in my home, in my house, with my kids and my soon-to-be ex-husband. After a while, also because I felt I couldn't, connect properly to them, because I had to run this fight that was not mine. When I left Colliers, I remember a good friend, after explaining why I'm leaving, and I want something else, and I don't feel well, and I feel I'm overwhelmed, and I think other people are better at this job, and I'm not happy. I want to go to the office anymore in the morning. And I was a bit like, saying all this stuff. And after the discussion, he came to me and said, "Now, really, you can tell me, did they fire you?" So people can't believe, or couldn't believe. They
couldn't
said,
imagine
no,
that.
This job, you don't leave.
Yeah. I mean, there is this modern concept that we have nowadays about work-life balance. And I'm wondering now, is it actually realistic when you choose a path like this, to become like, very high in a corporate organization on a leadership role? Is it actually even a plausible idea to have a work-life balance? What do you think?
I thought about this,
Yeah.
trying to conceptualize what happened, let's say, in my story, but every story is different. If I were to generalize a bit, I would say like this: the corporate world is great for a certain personality. For my personality was not great. And I will explain a bit why I think this happens and maybe go through other profiles. If you are a bit narcissistic, a bit ego-driven, a bit too much looking for fame, and you're too ambitious, the corporate drags you, pulls you, it sucks you in. You are the perfect material if your personality wants to evolve on the ladder, to grow as a career, to go up the ladder. This idea of going up the ladder means effort, stress, pressure, being the first in the office, leaving the last, okay, working weekends, working evenings. Why? Because the corporate is, let's say, using you to the maximum. The system welcomes these personalities. And you can learn immensely. Okay, you will make a lot of money, but your house will be a mess. There is another personality which I think it's better for to stay and build a good career and a balanced life. Is the personality in which you're not that ambitious, in which you're more balanced with your own, let's say, results. You don't need to validate yourself every day. You look at the job with a better detachment and you say, okay, I can, disagree with what they say. I can deal with conflict, because I couldn't. For me, conflict was a way to, prevent me from the ladder. So I would be more compliant and look to meet the results that others established. If you do like this, you get sucked into the system. If you are more, again, detached from your own ambitions, from your own expectations, and you don't think you deserve it all, and you say, really, am I that good? Or should I, maybe ask myself twice if I deserve this promotion? Why?
And know my place.
And I should know my place and know my limits. I didn't know my limits. I thought I can do anything. And I'm a Wonder Woman. And this was a bad mistake to lie to myself like this. And people around you, what happens is that they support this lie. Oh, Ilinca, you're so powerful. Oh, Ilinca, you're great. You are running this corporation and you are in real estate, which is a man-driven market.
On top of everything.
You are wow.
Yeah.
And when you hear this, you get more strength, more ambitious, you become a prisoner of of the system. You don't have zero freedom. Like you said at the beginning, the exploration for freedom became when you elope, when you escape the freedom. I couldn't build my freedom inside. I tried. I had a lot of autonomy. I tried new ideas, but little. If looking back now, I was very acting like the system is more powerful than me.
If we can relate it now to the startup culture, where we see it's for me, a strange, dichotomy in the way that startup founders actually operate. Because on one side, the industry is very cooperative. So we help each other, we recommend books to each other, we give each other's feedbacks, we are, early adopters, and at least this is, the culture that we're trying to nurture. And at the same time, you have to be real damn competitive to build a product which can, be valued in a global economy. I mean, you have to try to be really like the best if you want to achieve. So how do you see that, this kind of mindset that you were speaking about in the startup world?
will give the examples of my students from the Entrepreneurship Academy because I'm a big fan of their approach to business. And I have invested in 4 by now startups run by people 20, 25 of age. And I see no deconstructive competitiveness. Their competition is with themselves, with their own results. They don't talk about competition in a bad way or trying to steal clients. They say, okay, this is the market, this is my share. How can I serve better my clients? And they will come to me. It's competitiveness, it's ambition, but it's an ambition not put in the vanity game. It's an ambition put in, I want to serve my clients so well, so good. My product will be the best. And this is fine. It's like Apple does, okay? I don't care about what others do. It's the finite game versus infinite game. I think Simon Sinek has this concept, which I love. And maybe I don't like to be competitive in the red ocean of companies because I'm lazy. Maybe. I mean, I'm okay with any kind of explanation.
I feel like you're a bit too hard on yourself, harsh on yourself.
I'm old and lazy now, but I was not like that back then. I also think it's a matter of age. At one point, you need to be wise, and wise means achieve more results with less effort. And I look at these young people, and they think a bit more wise than I used to think. Okay, we are going to work efficiently, testing more, seeing what works. Opposed from a corporate, they take a decision to launch a product. They build 6 months the product, and then they build a marketing budget, and then they organize the channels, and they hire 7 brand managers, and and then they talk to the suppliers and organize this huge effort, and then they launch, and then they wait to see the results. Startup, it's lean, okay? You do a little thing and you test a part of it and you do an MVP, and it's much smarter. So innovation in corporates should happen in the way they test, build, measure, learn, and build again. To waste less money, less money indeed, and to put people in roles that are more adaptive, agile, and I think they would achieve much more.
I think there are cases where we would rather need the agile approach, and then there are probably also other cases where you probably, like in deep tech, where you need this waterfall approach if you want to do things correctly. Maybe in a way, we're hyping a bit the agility too much nowadays. But when I was listening to you, I was thinking something else, that quite often when we're not talented to do something, when it's not innate in us, and we learn it the hard way, it makes us fitter to educate others, to train others. And now describing your path as a manager at Colliers, I was thinking, but you've learned so much that now I would like to learn from that, because I wasn't born a manager either. I mean, I had to learn it the hard way. Now I'm in the CEO position of the Recursive, and it's a small organization, but sometimes it's like so overwhelming with and so coming now to the Entrepreneurship Academy, why did you start it? I mean, you had this transformation, personal, professional, in your life, and then all of a sudden you decide to go for Entrepreneurship Academy. Why that?
2 main reasons. First, I loved teaching. I loved this idea of being a professor. In Colliers, in my CEO years, I would often do trainings and learn from books, or go myself to universities, courses, workshops, and then come and teach whatever I found interesting. I would bring it in the staff meetings. Our staff meetings were not about only numbers and situations and clients and results, but also about, okay, how can we, I don't know, define our service better, or look at about this book, Ron Kaufman or Francis Fry, look what they say about how to define value proposition, and let's study the theory. These are the elements. What can we apply? They would laugh at me because I would constantly come with new concepts, new theories, so they kind of said, you could be a good professor. So this is one reason. The second reason, it's very probably counterintuitive maybe for most people. Most people think that it's a contribution, it's altruistic to teach the young people, and you're doing as a mission to give back to society. Very true. But under it, the truth is, at least in my case, it's a way to get validated easier. Because the role of a professor is actually less responsibility. You don't get, contradicted too much. You don't need to actually do what you say. You just say, they should do it. And if they don't do well, who's to blame? They. So it's a very easy form to be in power.
Okay.
Mentorship and being a professor, are amazing jobs. And people that do them with a lot of responsibility are amazing. I mean, I'm a big fan of these jobs. But again, I didn't manage to be a great professor either. As I didn't get to be a great manager either, because I stopped at one level. I stopped before becoming, really into it or super academical about it. I'm very practical. I'm a storyteller. I tell people about what I've done wrong or right, or what I think they should do, but I don't take the time and the patience to do research and become a real professor. Luckily, the Entrepreneurship Academy is a university that we founded together with other business people to be practical. We don't like academic papers. It's been going on for 5 years now. We're having about 135 students as we speak. And some of the startups that came out, like Flip, maybe you researched about it, or The Outfit, or Glow2Go, or others, or Entropy, I'm just trying to list a few of them, have already a name in the market. And it's a practical school, so I loved it for being practical. It gave me the opportunity to teach and be a coach. I felt the need to give back to these young people from my mistakes, but also in a way as a way of forgiving myself for them. When you teach forward and you give back to the community, it's a way to get forgiveness, I think. It's a bit of a selfish way to pay for your sins. And the young people appreciated my honesty, and also the fact that I speak more from failures than bragging about my results. And I really enjoy their energy and their ideas. And I just, if they come to me with an idea, I'm so happy to see that they have the motivation and the drive to do it.
So I guess, young...
Keeps me young, Irina.
Yeah. This is another aspect that I've been listening, hearing a lot from coaches and mentors. There's so many things that I would like to ask you about. So first of all, I'm very impressed how comfortable you speak about power. I think this is something that sometimes really, drives us. And not necessarily in a bad way. I mean, we speak about power quite often in a very negative way, and it's like everything in life. It has a good side and a bad side.
True.
Yeah. What I also find very interesting is that, this teaching experience is cathartic to your, to yourself for the mistakes that you've done before. But now I'm asking myself, and I'm wondering, Do you somehow also try to teach them to deal with their own mistakes in a more mature way? Because I would say that, especially here in Eastern Europe, we kind of miss this kind of culture. We're very harsh on ourselves with our own mistakes. We're very harsh on others when they fail. We sometimes even label them like the failure. We don't give them a second chance. And mistakes are exactly like this quite often. We can learn so much from them. They're so valuable.
It's very true what you say. What I've noticed is that we are too harsh on ourselves about the mistakes, but we are too shameful to talk about them. Mm. So the balance is the other way around. Is I accept I made mistakes. I accept my limitations. Okay, I accept I want to learn and I need to learn, and everybody's okay with that. And you need to learn, and you need to learn. How can we learn a lot from making mistakes? Is it the end of the world? No. But let's talk about a mistake with a notion of taking it out as a lesson. The problem in our culture, Romania, is shame. We were raised by shame, by shaming, by putting this pressure that, you should not do this because they will see you, and the neighbor didn't do this, why did you? What was your grade today? 4. How about your friend? 7. You should be ashamed that you took a lower grade than him, or, you don't talk like this, you should be shameful. So all this stigma on making a mistake brought me up, my generation is running by shame and guilt. So because of these very negative emotions, we don't talk about our mistakes. Because of these negative emotions that took our, love and affection from our parents away when we were kids, we don't want to make a mistake, which means we are afraid of trying. That's why we're not a population of entrepreneurs. And Southeastern Europe is struggling. Okay, we prefer a corporate. It's safe, it's warm, the sun is there, money floating around, and I can hide in my corner without being noticed. So I am trying to talk to the young people, to my students, and people come to me for advice, telling them the first thing you must do is stop lying to yourself. The second thing you need to do is love your parents for what they didn't do well. Accept that they did as best that they could, but the shame that you feel when you make a mistake, it's not your emotion. See it and accept it and put it aside. Okay, live with it, but no, it's not a correct feeling towards mistake.
Don't carry it around with you, and
don't carry it around. Okay, don't put your head down when you make a mistake. Talk about it. I tell them, let's talk about what went wrong. Let's talk about, because the tendency is nothing went wrong. It's not our fault. It's somebody else's fault. Why? Because I can't deal with the fact that I made a mistake. No, let's talk about it. And then let's use this lesson somehow. And the second time we can talk about the mistake in an easier form, okay? By accepting. And self-irony is very good as a way to humorize the mistakes. We are, as a culture, too afraid of mistakes, too shameful, too blameful of everything else than ourselves, because we're not taught to talk about mistakes.
What is your biggest mistake?
Oh, Mamma mia, what a question, Irina. How long do we have?
I think, this perspective changes over time. I think sometimes when we start digesting these mistakes and failures, all of a sudden they don't seem that huge. So from today's perspective, maybe.
Every age had a big mistake in it, for sure. They have something in common. And I think it's the mistake of Hmm. I regret a lot not seeing things better, not being aware.
Mm-hmm.
Now, could I have stopped it earlier or see it earlier? I don't know. But I should have stopped and listened more to people as a mirror to me. My kids were a great mirror. My personal life has always struggled because of my probably wrong, my cover, let's say, my artificial needs and values that I was not, because I didn't know what I was and who I was. And this is what I regret the most, that I didn't stop earlier to ask myself, okay, what the beep do you want and who are you and why are you going on a route that maybe it's not yours deep down inside? What's your talent really? Is it this? So I think this is something that is common throughout my young age, the mistake. I didn't stop to listen to the signs.
So in the context also of building a business, building a product, running a startup, this is something that keeps popping up again and again in the conversations, that a lot of what it takes is you to be able to listen to the environment, to your customers, to your users, to your colleagues, to your employees. How does one develop this ability or loses the fear of
exactly
listening others' opinion? And here again, I'm putting this in the context of Southeast Europe, where we're very opinionated. This is how I felt. I mean, I spent some time abroad, and when I came back, I was like, oh my God, here everyone has an opinion and they have to express it. And it doesn't even matter if they know about the topic or not. It's just blurping out there. So what did it take for you?
Self-confidence.
Okay.
The true self-confidence. I think there is a very profound difference between a true self-confidence and a fake or fakely built sense of holding the truth. People that I was the most opinionated of all. There was no topic that I didn't know something about. There was no book that I could not, talk about, because I was very afraid to say the words, I don't know. My opinions were built on fear. So what I think is underneath all this arrogance of knowing is our fear of not being noticed, fear of not being valuable or impactful in the world. And this comes a lot with the affection that you get when you're little. If your parents are kind of saying, you need to achieve something, so I love you.
Make it conditional.
If it's a condition, you need to take good grades in school so that I love you. You need to have, an opinion so that I love you. I remember somebody asked me, there's one famous question in this more of a personal development, coaching workshops, and is, if you're not your opinions, who are you? And I blocked. I was like, what do you mean? Is there anything else?
That's a great question. That's a great question.
If you're not your opinions, who are you? Which means if you're not your convictions, who are you? If you're not your paradigm, who are you? And it shows you there is a level which is artificially built. And underneath, you are human. You are a human being that deserves love and security. So when I understood this difference between my opinions and myself, but I was old. I was like over 40, and a veil lifted from my heart. But it was long after, and many tragedies and pain that I suffered when I finally discovered this kind of truth that I should not hold to my opinions because I deserve love, even if I say I don't know. And I can be a good CEO even if I say I don't know.
And you can be a Wonder Woman even if you make mistakes.
and it's okay to invite other people, their opinions. Something also I learned, not in our culture, but outside, is surround yourself with smarter people than you. If you're the smartest people in the room,
you're in the wrong room. Yeah.
And for a Romanian, this is like, no. What do you mean? I have to look good.
Yeah.
I have to look the smartest because then I will get promoted and I will get attention and I will get at the end of the day love.
And I have to prove it to anyone I'm speaking to.
Yeah. So okay. It's such a soft soil in underneath the education that our generation got. It's very soft. It's very superficial. It's not solid. It's too much anxiety.
So we spoke a lot about the fake confidence, but what is the real confidence then? How does it feel like? How do you rebuild it after so many shakes in life, after, I don't know, being predispositioned in a different way from family, society? How do you do that from there? And I believe, that confidence is very relevant also for entrepreneurs nowadays. Since we are competing on a global market, we see that in Southeast Europe, we have huge talent and we have like really, really smart people, street smart people, which is great for business, but we lack confidence. We can't do our pitches ourselves. We can't do ourselves. Yeah. So tell me about confidence.
I would recommend, on a funny note, I would recommend that, we from our countries and cultures spend some time outside, because I remember looking at a person which was very solid on their feet and, being able to do a pitch. And he was not the smartest or the most educated or valuable person. He was very basic compared to how much I studied and I learned and all the grades I took and the Olympics and everything. And, I felt, why is he so good on his feet? Because he's not super bright. I'm brighter, but I was shaking. Why? And it's if you go outside a bit, then you start placing yourself in the right position. You say, okay, who am I? What do I know? Do I know my product? Do I know the market? Do I know my numbers? Do I have the qualities to make me a good entrepreneur? Okay. What do I know? Do I know how to communicate? Can I speak good English? Do I understand financials? Can I, sell? Can I build a website? Are these basically what I need to do as an entrepreneur? Okay. Do I have them? Yes. Okay. So by making a list and checking with yourselves, do you have what it takes? And compare with the Westerners and the other, pitch makers and entrepreneurs from Germany and UK and America. Are they so much greater than you, actually? Okay. Did they make mistake? Yes. Did they lose money? Some of them, many of them, many times. And why do they start again? Because they trust the process. They trust that by learning and doing, they will get
eventually
to a good enough level of satisfaction. So they learn every day, they do, they act, and they trust the process that by doing and learning, it's like a ball, rolling and a snowball that has this multiplier effect. And trust the process. What does it mean, trust the process? It means trust time. And for our culture, we see today because we had to survive today. And it's very ingrained in my stomach to think about today and not 20 years. And one quote that for Romanians it brings a huge aha usually. It's the one that says, we always overestimate what we can do in 1 year, but completely underestimate what we can do in 20.
True.
So I set myself a super high goal. Okay, I want to make $1 million this year. I hear some young people in Romania. I want to make $1 million. Quick, 3 years, the most. And when they don't reach that, they fail. They fall, energetically and emotionally, because they didn't plan for 20. They planned for 2, and they planned for $1 million. They didn't plan for 200 that will become $500,000, that will become 1, that will become 3, that will become maybe 100 million. So this notion of I live 20 years and I will build something every day, in my generation is difficult to build, because we are survivals of an anxious anxiety legacy from our parents. The new generation has much more chances, because they think long term and they think global, and they compare. I look at this, Ciprian and George and girls, and they look to tutorials and pitches, other startups in the US, and I hear them saying, I value that pitch, but I would have done it better or different. And I see their level of confidence is a correct one into the world.
When I was listening to you about, doing something again and again and again, I was thinking about why we chose, to name the recursive. And, back then everyone would say, no one would understand this. I mean, this is like a stupid name. Don't do it. It will totally fail. And everyone was against it, even the people in the team. And when I'm, now in the situation of explaining what is the recursive and what does it have to do with innovation, then I tell them exactly this. So you start, sometimes in life, you feel like you're doing something over and over again, and it feels like a repetition. But in fact, it's a spiral. So each time you do it over and over again, you go through the same places, but you eventually do become better. So, believing in this recursion, or, embracing failure and believing that eventually you will get there where you're at least good enough is what probably, is very typical for innovators, or in the innovation mindset, at least how I see it. So thank you for this reference. So when it comes to the Romanian ecosystem, and this is probably like a very kind of, repetitive question, but I'm still wondering, so lately you've been experiencing this huge success. So we hear more and more success stories, and the confidence is actually also growing in the founders. I can I can trust. Of course, UiPath and everything around it, but there are also some others, hidden champions who are going to explode in the next couple of years. What do you think still it takes for the entrepreneurship community to grow? Because I can imagine that at this point it's still kind of like a bubble, How are we going to make it blast so that this entrepreneurial mindset is a bit more spread in the society?
It's a bubble. It's a very small ecosystem, actually. I mean, if you look at even the level of funds raised by startups, it doesn't go over 100 million in the last 2 years, which is very little for a country, actually, to achieve.
Probably with last year, there would be a bit more, or maybe with this year. So Fintech OS was this year. So I think you will hit in Romania definitely the 100 million bubble threshold.
Yeah. And Fintech OS is a great example of a recent success, and everybody's following them. But if you think about having, only one every 2 years or 3 years, it's still very small, clearly. The founders of Fintech OS are not at their first startup, or they're not very young the typical young, which means that still to become a unicorn, you should not expect to happen when you're very young. You need the resources, you need a great idea and a lot of years to develop.
Do you tell that to your
company.
students?
Yeah,
at the academy?
I do. Luckily, they don't believe me, but I do. Many years I blamed it on the state, saying the state should give lower taxes to entrepreneurs and should make easier the process of opening up a company, and they did. So I think it's a clear improvement. You can open very easily a company. It's harder to close it, but you can open it very easy in Romania. And the tax level in Romania, it's still one of the lowest in Europe. So I don't think it's a matter of the system not encouraging, but I think it's a matter of really the size of the market, the size of the selling product market. So like Bulgaria, okay, it's a small country.
It's even very smaller.
It's smaller.
Pretty much smaller.
If I have a product, I cannot become a unicorn, or not to talk about unicorn. I cannot become a great success stories if I only focus on Romania. If I sell on Romania, if you take a look at the big companies that started in Romania, like EMAG, for example, older. Okay, Vivre is one example. Autonom Lease is another example. They opened other markets because they realized that Romania is too small.
Yes.
If you have a niche business, even more, you need to enter other markets to place your niche in other countries. So I think what needs to happen is that Romanians learn how to make their business international and global. This means knowing the business environment in other countries, have people there to do the research properly, have a lot of collaboration with suppliers from countries neighboring Romania. And I think this will happen for the market soon.
Yeah, I mean, we hear that a lot, and it's totally true that scaling geographically, scaling abroad for many companies is kind of a challenge. And I mean, it's understandable. And the domestic market in each of the countries is actually very small. But what I see now is that we develop more and more like algorithms and formulas, and we teach each other that how to scale properly, how to approach this, because you can waste a lot of money, going into a new market. Then it turns out it's like the wrong one. There is something that, I would like to ask you about, because I've been wondering about this for a very long time. I was thinking that, in a way, Southeast Europe needs like a brand when it comes to startups and innovation. I'm a marketing person. This is why I, think in this way. And I've been always wondering if social innovation, or innovation that is related to how we can improve challenges that we're facing now as a society, and can be like a trademark for Southeast Europe. Why? Because we can relate to many of them. I mean, there was a joke that, the crisis was, wandering around in the world, traveling, and it's been in Brazil, and it felt like really cool, but at some point it moved, and then it went to Portugal and felt a bit better, and then it came back to Bulgaria, we say, and it felt like home. Maybe I can say, the same joke about Romania, and you would understand what I mean. I mean, we've been struggling with this crisis now for how many years? I don't even care. Probably my whole life. And we repeat to ourselves also again and again that it's so difficult here, and we're still in crisis, and everything is shitty in our countries. But again, coming to the fact that we can learn from that, can we somehow learn to make really impressive, really good social innovations? Do you believe in that? And I'm asking you because you're at the Impact Hub.
Yeah.
You have an overview of that?
Impact Hub build a reputation on creating programs for innovating, and I think it's a great bridge for the corporate to get innovation by tapping into the startup potential. Great minds and ideas coming from there. We also built a lot of programs. One of them, I think it's famous already. It's Startarium, which started. It's a digital platform for learning with mentorship, workshops, and educational tools and resources. I think we've had almost 50,000 visitors on the website since we launched it last year, the new version. And I can see the hunger of startups to get into very social type of businesses. We are not doing only social entrepreneurship programs, incubators and accelerators. We do basically, depending on the verticals that we want to focus on. We have agriculture, we have also education, but of course we also have the social problems like environmental issues, sustainability, climate change, etc. And all of them have a degree of social component in them. I was, I think, a couple of days ago on teaching, being a professor in front of 10 young entrepreneurs, ladies, because we have a program for ladies in agriculture, ladies in food industries. And I was talking to them about sales and how to find clients. And I was really happy to see how motivated and exciting and happy they were, because they are innovating and doing something healthy and bio and great for their clients, but also using social contexts like home, local employees, and using the land that is not used, or using some wasted resources to turn them into efficient resources. I think, as a conclusion, to answer to your question, our hunger is a factor for social innovation, because we want to get out of the crisis. We want to get out of the poor. We are the poor part of Europe. We are the ambitious but poor, and our hunger is helping us. But I'm pessimistic when it comes to us doing the real social innovation, because I think the other countries, they have much well-prepared people, trained in the topic. There are universities that teach sustainability and how to deal with the issues. They have resources when it comes to technology, access to funding, grants, much higher in volume than in Romania. I mean, if you think about it, our grants or our incubators or our competitions, when it comes to social innovation, they give 5,000 euro prize. It's nothing. Okay, it's good for my ego, and it's good for I have a kindergarten that does something for children with problems, and I get 5,000 euros, so I can buy some new furniture, or I can, buy an equipment for handicapped children to do something better, okay, because I have this social project. But in the large scheme of things, is absolutely zero. So I don't think we have the capacity to create a scalable social innovation, which means you build a IP, a product that can treat a social problem that is taken over by other countries and multiplied.
I hear you very well what you're saying. I mean, it's been a challenge, I think, for many years now. I see that also abroad, where, the Green Deal has been much more of a topic in media and everywhere, that people are a bit more aware of.
And education.
Of that.
Think
and
about
education.
how many are recycling in Romania or Bulgaria.
I don't know.
Do you recycle?
I do, but I spent like 11 years in Austria. I mean, I was forced more or less to learn that.
Okay, I don't. And I don't, not because I don't want, not because I don't care, because the system is somehow, it's a lot of obstacles.
It's allowing you to live quite well without it. Yeah.
I need the separate bins, and then I need companies separated to come, and I don't know where to find them, and the city doesn't provide. I need to call. It's a mess. Okay, it's not easy.
Okay.
Of course, now we will get a call from all the NGOs in Romania saying, Ilinca, but it's not that hard. You should know. This is the number. This is the platform. But again, I'm saying, if I don't know, and I'm one of the,
aware
and linked, and I have a network, and I hear stuff, and people talk to me about stuff. If I can't
manage,
not to mention the majority of people. So we are far from being social innovators.
Oh, okay.
I'm sorry.
You crushed my ideas. And when you're saying that, being part of, Impact Hub Bucharest, then that sounds really, really awful. So people everywhere and people with funds everywhere. So social innovation and impactful ventures need you more than ever, because we will be facing these challenges. I don't think that they will be, getting any less over the years. They will increase.
I'm a big fan of another approach, which means we need to help ourselves first and not necessarily consider that we will break through social innovation from Romania to other countries. Okay, not this kind of build a reputation for social innovation. I don't think we can, but I think we can build a reputation consolidated on, let's say, our IT capabilities. And Bulgaria and Romania are great processors, project managers, IT developers, and I think we should do more about this. And even FintechOS is an example of an outsourcing company. They started as delivering typical software services that went more into customized software for digital banking. And now, sky's the limit, and they're doing great. But they started from our core competence in Romania. UiPath the same, okay? And I know you won't like it, but let's not pretend to be something we're not. And let's, stop lying to ourselves.
Yes.
Like we were talking earlier. What is our core competence? If it's foreign languages and IT, let's build startups that develop little products, little, parts in the process that we can scale and give to the world. To build super cool social innovations, of course we will and we can. And a part of our economy and our NGOs and our entrepreneurs will tap into these problems. But I don't think this is the key for our economy growth.
Okay.
Or entrepreneurship ecosystem.
Where do you see the biggest potentials for economic growth at this point?
IT for sure.
Okay.
Big IT, which means outsourcing, basically, but small IT, developing products like Bright Spaces, like FintechOS, like many others, many great. ZTech is a great example. There are many names of cool companies in Romania that are building, not just doing software for clients, but building products, building intellectual property.
This is definitely true that if you want to create value and to develop this value-add economy, we slowly, actually very fast, should we start moving from the typical outsourcing where we just code for others or, into creating products and also, keeping the IP in the countries, in the economy so that this scales. When it comes to verticals, can you make some kind of prognosis? Which verticals are, bearing the biggest potential, at least in Romania or in Bucharest, where you have an overview?
What do you mean by verticals?
Like prop tech or, fintech again.
From IT,
and
what kind of niche verticals? I'm a big fan of prop tech. And I think it has a great potential.
Yeah.
But I'm also looking at what else can we work on? What else is needed, basically? Okay, looking at the market demands, and I think it's medical and agriculture.
Okay, that's interesting.
Something that the pandemic pushed forward is this IT for services. Basically, everything becomes online, everything becomes digital.
Sure.
From food delivery, education, platform for kids to learn remote. So I think this is also a third very powerful general vertical, which is the service business. From banks to schools, from restaurants, to car dealers. They all have to offer us stuff through their online platforms.
This all makes sense. There is a lot more that I can ask you. I have to wrap up, and I'm thinking of how can we wrap up this conversation. Let's put it like this. Before I ask you the final question, I'm going to ask you. So, being pessimistic about the social sector in Romania, what is your mission currently at the Impact Hub? I mean, you still should be, in a way, optimistic about something.
I'm very optimistic about Impact Hub, but also because we are striving for a balance between our mission, which is core, which is touching our hearts and making us wake up every morning, which is supporting the entrepreneurship ecosystem in Romania. Social or not social, it's entrepreneurship. It's the engine of the future, and we strongly believe that. It gives our country independence, autonomy, value, more money, and a better prosperity. And I'm very convinced about this. On the other hand, we are combining this mission, which is building free education for entrepreneurs through our programs, okay, and supporting their growth with a commercial activity of Impact Hub, which is our co-working business.
Okay.
And the co-working business is a commercial business, which means, okay, I'm delivering value to companies to come and use the office, ready to move in with full flexibility to do your job properly. And I'm offering a community. So you come with your startup at Impact Hub or with your company. It can be a corporate. We have many corporate clients. Teams come, they work from Impact Hub. They meet the community. They get more creative, more innovative. They get connected, and they get more productive at work. So we're having an NGO arm, which is social, but it's social because it's an NGO. But the type of entrepreneurship that we are incubating and accelerating, it's not only social entrepreneurship. Yes. It's all kinds of entrepreneurs. And on the other hand, we are making money, and we want to build a profitable business, right? Because we are entrepreneurs, and we are teaching others how to be entrepreneurs. So we must, walk the talk,
yes,
and scale our co-working business into developing new products for our clients. So we have a combined mission to enable, basically, to be the best partner, the preferred partner, when it comes to future of work, learning, and communities.
Communities are the new platforms also for innovation, right? And it all makes sense.
Sharing, peer-to-peer learning. This innovation word, it's a buzzword, and everybody's using it.
Yeah.
And I've never considered myself an innovator personally, but in our community, for example, there are super visionary people, and they come in the community and they test their ideas, and they ask questions, and they get feedback within the community. And this is how innovation is being built indeed.
Ilinca, I have yet another big question, and you're going to be, I don't know, what is that question? But I actually ask it to all my guests. Sure. Because I am kind of, thinking that it reflects their personality. And the question is, what do you want to be remembered for? If you have to think, way ahead in the future?
I have come to the conclusion that I'm still exploring. I'm not a formed human being. I'm, let's say, old enough to know that my previous desires about fame, glory, power are dissipated and not real, actually, and they didn't bring me happiness for sure. And I've been through a lot of, let's say, personal suffering to think twice when it comes to, okay, what I want to be remembered for. Not for building anything or a legacy or empire behind me, but I want to be remembered for this exploration that I'm more for the effort, more for the journey, more for the, okay, Ilinca really tried hard, and then she tried again, and she explored this and that, and she at the beginning she knew it all, and then she realized she doesn't know anything, and so she kept learning. So this is cool.
It's very interesting to listen to each person's answer and then, in a way, analyze it a bit. What makes me admire you right now is that after all these years, being so honest with yourself and not lying to yourself, you came to this moment where you can totally comfortably and confidently say, well, I don't know yet. I'm still exploring. And the fact that I'm courageous enough to explore again and again and again, this is what makes, a huge part of me.
I remember I was on, I climbed Kilimanjaro with a group of people, and remember after I came from, from the top, and I was like, wow, this is an amazing result. And it is. For many people, it looks like, wow, you climbed Kilimanjaro, it must have been tough, and wow. And a friend of mine asked, but why did you do it? And I said, because I wanted to, to get this achievement and to be better than yesterday and to be pushing my limits. And she was like, oh, why? Because why live a boring life? And why, if you can't do this, why stop? And she was, but why? And because she asked kind of few whys, I realized it's not for the pushing my limit. It's not for the certainty of the satisfaction that I did it. It's actually because I didn't know, or it was more because I want to explore and to try something, because I don't know what else to do. Do you see the difference? I didn't do it because I was sure about some result. And I didn't do it because in itself it was something important to do. But it was because I didn't know what else to do. Sometimes you need to go to Kilimanjaro to realize you don't need to go to Kilimanjaro.
True. True. I'm actually also thinking quite often that we do so much in life just because otherwise we will be bored.
Sometimes we do stuff, because we don't want to stop and ask. And this idea, okay, I want to be alone with me, bored for a while. How long? A month. Okay, maybe in that month, I take some layers out and I get rid of this fear of missing out. I was destroyed to stay 1 hour alone in the house because of this fear of missing out, because this fear that I have to face myself. I have to face my feelings, my emotions, my unknowns, my anxiety, and I was like, no, I need to do something because this is who I am. Okay, it's not who I am. It was my way of hiding from me. But it was what I knew. I needed it. I couldn't stop. I just couldn't stop. It was so powerful. It was much more powerful than the other me, the little me who wanted to come out and say, hey, I'm here, relax, you're fine.
I have the feeling that at some point in my life, I would like to go back to what you were saying. I'm not sure that I'm quite there yet.
You're young, Irina.
But I have this fear that maybe I'm in the same loop. We'll see. Thank you very much, Ilinca, for this conversation. It's been so insightful and bringing me also, to think over things. Very honest. You're a very courageous woman, I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you.
You said that you're not a Wonder Woman, but from my point of view, this is what it takes to be a Wonder Woman, yeah? To have this courage.
To say, I don't know.
To say, I don't know, yeah. Okay,
Thank
with
you,
that
Irina,
in mind, thank you very much.
Thank you.
So, Ilinca, I'm going to start a sentence, and I'm going to ask you just to finish it in a short way, the way that, the first thing that pops to your mind. Let's see.
Okay.
So, my favorite part of the day is, that's an easy one.
Dinner with my kids in the evening, and my partner, because he cooks Italian, and it's so great.
Oh, I got hungry now. My favorite place in the world is the dinner table.
I have to say my house. I built a house on my own taste, and I feel just great in it. And although I've lived great times and tragic times in it, it's truly my home, my anchor. It's the best place in the world for me.
The last book I read was?
I read Gabor Mate, which is Hungry Ghost, The Realms of Addiction.
Success is?
Success is learning. Success is learning for me.
Mentorship for me is?
A nice way to run from responsibility.
My smartest decision was
to buy an electric scooter. I'm so happy riding it through the city, and I'm having a blast with it.
My hardest decision was?
To look in the mirror. Yeah, I think to stop lying to myself. This is a hard decision. It's a very important one, but it was hard to just let go of everything that I built that meant something, but it doesn't mean anymore much.
I'm gonna finish with this one, and I would like to relate to that. I remember, the moment where I decided that I'm not going to lie to myself as well. And then I had to figure out what is the truth behind it. And sometimes, our mind will trick ourselves with truths that we feel comfortable with. So I had to do the opposite. And I would just, start asking myself, maybe this is this, and is it, try to be as horrible as possible, as uncomfortable as possible. And sometimes it would be oh yeah, this is it. I didn't want to admit to myself that I was envious, for instance, or that I was ashamed, or that I was judgmental, stuff like this.
It's a great feeling,
yeah,
no?
It is.
It's a great feeling.
And
when you start to see the truth and be okay with it, it's liberating.
And now it's like my sports, like my tennis.
You play tennis?
I don't. It's my mind tennis.
Oh, okay, your mind tennis. I play tennis,
competing
so I
with
would love
myself.
to play tennis. You can play intellectual tennis anytime. Maybe in the future. It would be nice to keep in touch.
Okay, that's it.
In the next episode of the Recursive podcast, we welcome seasoned entrepreneur and investor who is now running for the Bulgarian parliament, Daniel Lurer. And if you are just as passionate about innovation as we are, hit subscribe for the Recursive podcast on YouTube or your favorite podcast platform. We're everywhere.